Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to the first recording of an Inclame Session 0. Good morning, Tesh, or evening for you.
I'm hype.
Yeah. I'm excited as well to get into this story for your character. One of the things I'm going to say, sorry for the overlay. I currently have the new colors being fabricated for me. I expected them about 5 days ago, but they still haven't come in yet. So I'm just waiting for the person to finish doing those. So gold is not the color that we're doing for this campaign, just so you guys are aware. And one last thing I'm going to point out is while Excellent will be the rank of Tesh's character at the start of the campaign, he actually is not that rank right now, and we're not displaying the class right now. Okay. Hi, Tesh.
Hello.
All right, so I know you're excited about this, so let's kind of get into your character. Galan has served in the Paradel military. Galan.
Yep.
Hey, sweetheart, how much milk
God.
you want me to get at the grocery store? A gallon. Oh, a gallon? A gallon, like a half gallon? No, a gallon.
This is the problem with being
Need a
Australian
gallon.
and not realizing a word sounds like another word that American uses.
Well, it's actually Gallon, right? Gallon. But
No, it's Galan.
yeah, but it's a gallon. Let's get a gallon of milk. A gallon? Yes, a gallon. All right. Jesus. That was for you, Tesh. That was 100% for you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can you already see Scott as the common denominator emote in chat? You see it over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Joey
Yeah,
and Roz
yeah.
right there. Yep. All right. So,
100%.
hi guys. All right. So, Galan. God, no. Now I just imagine like walking into his bunker and he's got like a milk mustache with like a big jug next to him. And he's kind of walking and be like, "Hey, Galan, huh?" You get like a.
I can see that too now. Oh, that's
right?
the worst.
Like, come on, it's so.
Why have you done this, Scott? You've ruined it.
So what's your character's new name, Tesh?
No, I'm keeping Galan.
Ezek? All right, so Galan has been part of Inclame for a short period of time now. Galan, having had previous experience in a military at a land far yonder, actually was able to, when he joined into the Inclame part of the Aurorum, his character didn't have to come in as a typical recruit, right? He was actually able to join as a Legionnaire Superior, which is absolutely wonderful. His previous experience had certainly merited him that from his past experience as a soldier for Amalta. Now, granted, it is mandatory service to Amalta, and you did your mandatory period of time, but during that period of time, you actually became decorated. You put a lot of effort into what it was that had transpired over there, which is the reason why, you were elected for certain processes that existed over in Amalta at the time. So when you came here, you similarly put a lot of effort. Your character's kind of an all or nothing sort of person, right? He kind of in for a penny, in for a pound. He's in the military, he's going to go for it, right? And in doing so, very quickly he was able to gain rank from being a Legionnaire Superior, where he was taken into being a champion, the next rank up from there. And there are talks that there are a lot of higher ups who are actually very impressed with what it is that you're able to do in such a short period of time, and beyond that, how much influence you actually have on the soldiers around you. The big thing is that aspect of the influence on the soldiers around you. By carrying that kind of influence, it means that, in theory, if you were to gain another promotion, another rank, you would be what's considered an NCO, or a non-commissioned officer, right? Somebody that could actually lead other soldiers around you should you continue this military life. Now, we both know the reason why you chose Inclame. As a parent, you could easily come to Paradel and be a Manel here, a second-class citizen. But why would you ever want to settle up for something like that. You came from a Malta. You came from a land where you had incredible freedoms. And you understand that you have to earn that here, similar to you having to earn that there. You don't see the inclame servitude as being a negative thing from your perspective. In a Malta,
No.
all citizens, every single solitary one of them, by law, must serve the military for 2 years, right? Unless they're already in service to the people for some other reason, like by sheer coincidence, the current queen got to kind of get away with, but not all royals. That's not like all royalty getting away with. No, that's actually very uncommon, right? So when you came here and you're like, wait a second, hold on, I'm a second-class citizen and kind of like stay in this one area, or I can just serve 3 more years in the military and have access to this significantly larger nation and all it has to offer. Okay, I'll do that. Sure.
Yeah.
So you joined in and you gave it your all. You're going to be here. You're going to show that you not only want citizenship, but you deserve citizenship. And that because you're going to take so much from what it is that Paradol has to offer, you want to make sure that you're going to guarantee to those around you that you're willing to put in to receive, right? It's definitely a clear idea of what it is that you're doing here. And so, as I said, your characters put in a lot of significant effort into earning the ranks that you have, in having the influence of those around you, convincing them to also want to put a little extra effort in. Your character currently, as it stands right now, is on a bit of an important task. The province that you've chosen to call your home, actually, I don't think you've defined this for me. I thought you did, but now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait, what was it? So of the 9 parallel provinces, you have that map up, correct?
I don't have it up, but I can have it up in a second.
I could PM it to you really quickly just to make sure you
Please
have
do.
access.
That'll be quicker.
So, of the 9 parallel provinces under the 3 different Turumbar that each lead over the three individually, which province do you see your characters having? I imagine not Jovincia, as Jovincia would pitch you directly against a Malta. You would have to fight brother to brother.
To be fair, given stuff, he might actually be okay with that.
Oh, also, especially if what you're actually doing over in Jovincia is attacking Jovance, because I imagine your character has never liked the slavery of Jovance, like most.
I imagine so. Yeah.
By jumping ship.
I actually think that would be, given things that will be revealed about what happened to him in Malta. I think he'd be fine with that. He might even prefer that.
Okay. So your character actually serves underneath the Yavin here, which is Haven Jovance, as your prince. Haven Jovance is a good man, a very, very good man. I mean, it's important to note that Haven Jovance, of all the princes, is extremely anti-slavery. It makes sense because they're literally at war with Jovance, right? So their task is to dismantle the slave chains and whatnot that they have going there. So you would certainly have a considerable respect for your Yavin here, for your prince, which is effectively the ruler of the province that you live in. Your only ruler, that with the Turumbar above them, because you're not yet a Goriad. You're only a Manel. Again, first class and second class citizen, respectively. So, what is it? Yavin here is somebody that you would definitely look up to, and so serving under the military there would do you well. Actually, I want to double check the name of your commander. Your high commander is what the rank is called, I believe. Yeah. One moment as I'm scrolling.
No worries.
They see me scrolling. They hate in. Commander Ypra Sahar is actually your commander out of the city of Durian. Nope, you would be a different one. Doesn't really matter. So
Okay. Ypra Sahar.
Yep. So either way, so this is like the command that you're under, because you would have a much lower rank commanders who you'd serve under anyways. So the task that you have in this scenario is, because there's like open war happening between Jovincia and Jovance, as you know all too well from all the stories going on that happen to be in this region here. But your character isn't actively fighting directly against them, right? Like, one of the things that your character happens to be good at is he's not just like some big meathead. He's actually a rather keen person. He's rather intelligent. He's also quick and nimble, despite the fact that he's I mean, he's tromping around in some breastplate with a big ass sword, right? Like he's actually a pretty capable individual. So what you're going to be a part of is a small group, and usually you serve a much larger group, but you actually were put a part of a small group of people whose responsibility was actually to go into Yovance itself and gather a degree of information that they have there. Now, when I say a degree of information, I don't mean like supply chains of where it is they're bringing in soldiers or da-da-da-da-da. The information you've actually been trying to go in to get your hands on was numbers of slaves that they have, where they're being retained, values that they are, all this kind of like slave-based information is what you're going for. And the reason why this is important to you is because obviously this is the kind of information that you're going to be utilizing to make sure that Jovincia is able to kind of like break down their operations that they have going there. But the reason why this is doubly important to you is because this is actually information that, as far as rumor has told you, Haven Yovance has sought out personally. Like, this is something that he himself has straight up said, we need this information. This is critical to our succeeding in our endeavors. This is critical to cracking the egg that is Yovance. We need to, kind of like scramble this up and destroy the culture they have there. We need this. As we're sending you into one of the prominent kind of like slave trades that exist inside there. Now, we can, of course, get into the nitty-gritty of some as you're like trying to sneak in, but just kind of flashing for a little bit of this task. The characters that you're traveling with, because as I said, it's a rather small group. It's your first time ever working with such a narrow unit. You've never worked with such a small group before. There's in fact 4 of you that are, my apologies, there's in fact 4 of you that are working together. In contrast to, there is actually another group of 4 that you were informed of that are doing similar task, helping out in the similar on this task from a different angle elsewhere. So it's a total of 8 people, 2 small groups that are going in and handling this inside of Yovance. So this is like imagery over here that's moving. It's throwing me off. I'm gonna cover that. It's not have to see it. It's like catching my eye. So are going in there and handling this task. So what it is that you specifically, your group is doing is while their group is actually literally going in, sneaking in and trying to find the intelligence, trying to handle the actual locating of the documents. They're specialized for things like that, handpicking the exact documents that are required, so on and so forth. It was actually your group's responsibility to get them into their place and to extract them from their location. The way that your intention was to go and to drop them off was that it was your characters, while they were literally under disguise, pretending they're doing like all the deceptive stuff. It was actually your character's responsibility to cause a bit of a distraction, not all on combat, a bit of a distraction by doing some espionage, some sabotage-like work. So literally along a caravan area where they were transporting some supplies a day or so prior to when they were kind of making their way in, your characters literally set up a couple of traps out in the middle of a road to destroy some caravans, gather some supplies from there, literally act as bandits. However, you were given the express responsibility that you were not to harm any slaves, any citizens, or any caravan guards that were there. Caravan guards, if they got a little harm, that's okay. You were given the express responsibility not to take any lives. These would be needless casualties of war should you do that. However, if there is response by Yovance's military, which unfortunately are slave soldiers, you of course had to do all actions necessary to make sure that the mission was successful, right? And so you guys actually did this task, caused the distraction, grabbed some supplies, which, funny enough, one of the soldiers that are with you, when you guys realized what they were transporting, I mean, important goods like textiles, right? Fabrics and whatnot that were exactly the fabrics they used for weaving together the cloth style armors that a lot of the soldiers wear, as well as the clothing that they wear, so on and so forth. So there's the supply chain there. There's of course some weaponry and whatnot being brought up as well. Again, things that your characters were interested in. However, what are they called? Taskmasters, for their military. You know, the people that drive the army forward, shall we say?
Yeah.
They had certain supplies of theirs being delivered as well. We're talking about high quality honey that was being transported there. That same honey that is used to make mead. So some high quality meads coming out of southern Yovance, and other like really good delicacies, really good like sweets and high quality foods. So needless to say, when you guys were attacking the caravan, once it was realized you guys were grabbing supplies or whatever, once that was realized by one particular soldier, it was literally quick. One of those like, "Hey, drop that shit! I found the jackpot!" And everybody was like, "Okay," and putting down the things that you were doing, you know, and you go over back there, what you're like, oh, you know that your responsibility is now to lie low for the next several days. So your characters kind of grab this stuff up and would literally be bringing back honey and stuff. And this is kind of like where we're bringing it in to the campaign for you. So your character would have been have already successfully raided the caravan, gathers the supplies. Again, a couple of caravan guards may have been injured, but you all saw to it that they did not die because it would have been needless. And that the actual, like a couple of the actual people in the caravan itself beyond, like merchants, they also may have sustained some injuries too. But like, I mean, they got a little mouthy, so did what you had to do. Not saying your character necessarily, but it was done.
No, I imagine it wouldn't have been Galan that did it, but he also, if it wasn't breaking rules, he wouldn't have stopped it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, these are, I have to understand, merchants are also slave owners themselves.
Oh, yeah, they're despicable people. Hence, they're not stopping it.
And you would have gathered up your supplies and retreated back. So, I mean, we're literally picking up with it's evening time, like nighttime. Your characters finally found like a massive, almost like cliff face that you're able to come up to and find like down this way, come over here, and like make your way down to the cliff face. You look a good couple miles away from where it was that you did that. You guys straight jogged out of there. All of you have a pretty decent constitution, right? All of you are in pretty good shape. So jogging all the way from location A to location B wasn't that bad. So you kind of all threw yourselves down into the area. Now these people that you're serving with right now, you don't know them particularly well. You've only known them since the 8 of you left beforehand and broke off just before you got to the border. Just the 4 of you here. You've literally traveled with them for about a week, and most of it has been kind of like hard jogs moving. This is finally the first opportunity where you're literally lying low for a couple of days. As a reminder, the extraction that you're supposed to do is either supposed to be a soft extraction, similar raids to distract the people from coming, meeting them so they can make their way out safely. And you are just kind of guarding them to bring the information back home, right? Or a hard distraction, which is, a hard extraction, which is a massive distraction, literally attacking, causing like massive havoc.
If something goes wrong, we go in to get them out, sort of thing.
Exactly. And this is like meant to be like literally, okay, more or less set fire to stuff, full on hard distraction. Hey, love, thank you so much. Appreciate it. She just dropped breakfast. I'll come over and get it. Thank you. So, Tesh, what I want you to do is, as you're sitting down with the 4 of you, and of the 4 of you there, it's funny enough, happens to be 2 ladies and 2 gents, including yourself. The other names you were able to gather, so you might want to write these down.
Yep.
So the gentleman's name.
3 others.
3 others,
is it?
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
The gentleman's name is Killian.
Yep.
One of the ladies' names is Minerve.
Yep.
And the other woman's name is Delilah.
Cool.
All of you happen to be Perrin. All of you happen to be Manel, trying to become Goriad. So all of you have no, my apologies. That's not true. Minerve is a Goriad. She's actually the commander amongst the group of you. The other 3 of you come from other countries that are trying to earn your Gorian status. You're the only one that came in and straight up signed up immediately. The other 2, they've actually lived in Paradel for some time and are now trying to earn it, whether they came here as a child or so on and so forth. That's all the information you have of them thus far. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and of the other 2 that are there, so obviously she's an officer. That's important to note. While you're champion, the other 2 that are with you, they're champions as well. Okay? But you're again, potentially moving on. Cool.
Yeah. I've heard whispers.
Correct. So you guys are slammed down, and immediately Killian is actually, as soon as you guys kind of slam down to rest or whatever, he goes over and he's like, what's your name? Minerva, toss me that bottle. She's like, now? And he's like, he starts nodding and looks over to Delilah for, wait, Delilah was the officer, right? Yes. Oh, look.
I thought Minerva.
So he says, Delilah, toss me that bottle. And she's like, now? And he's nodding like, yeah. And she looks over to to Minerva, and Minerva just kind of gives a bit of an eye roll and says, yeah. And then they pop open the first bottle of mead. Now you guys don't, it's not exactly you have cups or, you have, of course, your mess kit style basic cups sitting there. But, I mean, he doesn't care. He's straight on full on lips on the bottle. Glug, 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 glug. Now, I don't know if you've ever had mead in real life, Tesh.
I have not.
It's heavy.
Yeah, I have heard that though.
so you don't really glug, 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 glug mead very easily. Okay. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of mead. It's either way too bitter or way too sweet, but that's very few meads I like, but that doesn't matter. So try it sometime. So he's taking these big swigs of mead, which knowing that and your character having had mead before, it probably
Yeah, Galan definitely is not interested in drinking. He's not. He wouldn't be think less of them for drinking, but the glug glug glugging, he might be like, okay, that's a bit much.
Yep. So eventually, after he's glugging for a bit, Delilah picks up a rock and throws it at him. And whether it's because she has incredible precision or missed where she was hitting, she actually clinked the bottle. And it was one of those, she threw it hard enough at him that it actually chipped the bottom, the thick at the bottom bottle, chipped the bottom of the bottle. So it actually banged his teeth. It's like, oh, what the hell? And the 2 of them start bickering back and forth. And while they're bickering back and forth, Minerva's like, if you're going to fight, could you at least hand off the bottle? And so he's like, yeah, kind of gives it to, of course, the commander, right? That's to the commanding officer. And she's to be clear, she is a LT. So he hands it over to the LT, Lieutenant Tactician. Hands it over to her. And so she takes the bottle and very, even with her dirty shirt, very aggressively wipes off the rim of the bottle. And then she takes a swig from it, and then she'll hold it out to you.
I'm good, but thank you.
She gives you kind of a look and a strange look and says, I don't mean to pressure you and you don't got to drink, but we just earned all this.
Clear mind is what I'd like to keep. It's not that I think we'll need it. It's just I'd rather have it if we do.
She nods appreciatively, and you actually hear Delilah say, kiss ass. She's like, oh, you kiss ass.
He's honestly going to look around and go, it is what it is.
She's like, oh, no. You're just doing that because you're talking to the officer.
Well, we'll just see when we get to the fighting.
Killian chimes in and says, he's like, well, there are rumors about you.
Well, rumors come and go.
He waits a couple moments and kind of leans against the wall there, and then reaches to take the bottle. And as he goes to take the bottle, Delilah quickly takes that half step and leans over and slaps his hand, and she takes the bottle. However, she actually pulls out from her mess kit, her little tin cup or whatever she has, and actually fills up her cup pretty well, draining the bottle pretty well, and then hands it over to him. And he's just like, takes another swig.
Galan would pull out his water water skin and take a swig of that and just sort of like not he's not so much wanting to be separated from the group because they're drinking and he's not. It's just sort of like a social thing. Even if it's only water, him getting involved with the drink he knows helps.
Yep, of course. So after he takes a swig, he looks at you and he goes, "So is it true what they say about you?
Depends what they say.
You from the other side?"
He stiffens up a bit. Yes.
From a slaver sympathist to a liberator, huh?
I was never really a fan of the slavery, but yes. In matter of fact, yes.
Your queen seems to like him. Well, soon to be queen.
I have no love for Malta. Not anymore.
Delilah actually, taking a couple after having taken her second sip from her little tin cup, says, "Yeah, what's up with that?" Clearly telling that maybe she's pushing boundaries and asking.
So he's actually going to like gesture to his side of his head. I haven't had a chance to describe this yet, but all along the side left, I don't know which side it is for the camera, but on his left side of his head, up his cheek, up into his hair, and even like stopping some of his hair from growing, he's got scar tissue. He's got short white hair that doesn't grow where the scar tissue grows over. It says, well, for one thing, they're responsible for this.
So you must mirror your camera, because when you say left, it is on my left.
I actually guessed it was on the right way around, so I'm glad. Because I think Zoom mirrors it automatically, so I guessed. I was pointing on my right side, but saying my left.
Oh, that's funny. I was like, that looks like it's his right side. I'm going crazy right now, but that's why.
Okay.
That makes so much more sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, because like this is my left hand, but it should show up on the, But anyways, cool.
Good old Zoom.
Yeah. I flip it.
That.
I don't allow the mirror to happen. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So it would be on the left side of his head then.
Yep.
And yeah, he gestures that and says, "Well, they're responsible for this for one."
Gotcha. Cool. So, she kind of looking at it, and she goes, "I won't say. I always thought you'd be kind of pretty if it wasn't for you being so damn ugly."
It builds character.
Killian says, "That's what I tell him too."
Honestly, that would actually get a chuckle out of him.
Chiming in, Minerva would actually say, "So what's it like serving over there?"
Different. Very. I thought I was fighting for a reason that I definitely was not. And I've seen that now.
She gives you a look that says kind of like, "Care to go on?" And she'll take grab the bottle back and take a swig.
You know what? He might actually grab the bottle, take a swig.
So she takes a swig as she waits for your response, and you kind of give.
And he'll immediately
look.
Grab it.
Yeah.
Grab it, take a swig, hand it back, and just. Definitely not fighting for its own people. Hands it back.
Yep. Nods. Takes it back, and she says, "Well, Malta defends these slave owners. At least we are all putting aside our past to liberate them."
Indeed.
And she looks at the group that are there and says, "Well fought, all of you, by the way. It's not sitting well for each of us that we have to act as bandits, but considering who we took the supplies from and the reason why we're doing it, I can stomach that at least."
Yeah, this place is worse than I'd heard.
Killian, being kind of an ass, is like, "Oh, somebody tummy hurt? hold on. I get something that'll cheer you up. And goes over and produces these like amazing cookies that have like this like hardened caramel coating at the bottom and like a fine chocolate drizzle on top and a little bit of like some sort of almost like flaking throughout them that adds this like other flavor that you're when you finally taste it you're not familiar with. And he starts like handing out cookies for everybody. They got, in the runaway and the whatnot, they got a little bit broken or crumbled, but that's not a big deal because that just means you don't have like these huge cookies. So you're not doing like, you're actually forced to eat like smaller bites at a time, which is a good thing. And like, he eats, everybody's got, eats. Oh my, they're so fucking good. They're like so good.
Now this is worth celebrating.
They'll all kind of chuckle to that. Minerva once again chimes in and says, I did notice something strange with all of us. Every one of you, even though we're all served for Paradel, everybody has their own technique, their own way of fighting. The reason why I point this out is I would expect a little bit more of a Maltese fighting style coming from you, Galan. But the way you wield that sword, it definitely feels very Paradel. You certainly put the hours in your training, haven't you?
Indeed. What's worth doing is worth doing well.
She nods. She's like, yeah, well, maybe that's why. Maybe it's the fact that all of us do have a degree of parent training, but I felt like for a moment there, it almost felt like we're all moving in consort with one another, didn't it?
It did.
It was.
Yes.
It was a connection like I've never had on a field of battle before. But then again, I think all of us have more experience working in larger units, don't we? She says, looking about. And Killian chimes in saying, not me. I always get shoved in the small teams. and what's her name? The other one. Delilah chimes in and says, it's because of your gas. and he's just like, you don't seem to mind. She's like, I don't complain to be civil. And he's like, he just shrugs again and goes, well, not my fault you're from Ascaria. And she's like, and she actually looks over at you and says, if it makes you feel any better, I joined for similar reasons. I didn't exactly agree with what it is that Jovans and Malta are doing, and knowing that my country was a backbone for everything that it is that those two countries do, I wanted an opportunity to fight against them, but it would have been considered treason for me to do so while staying home. So I came here to join as well and help. And Killian looks at her, gives her kind of like a screwed up look, like he told, like that's a bald-faced lie. And she looks at him, and she's like, "What?" And he continues like glaring down at her, like he knows something. And eventually, she's like, "Okay, and I'm also wanted."
I mean, that just means you did well.
He's like, "Yeah, she did. She did pretty decent." And looking back at him, she's like, nobody got hurt, okay? They were minor crimes. And he's just like, sure, whatever you say. Either way, the Minerva says, listen, we have a few days to spare. Don't go turning your stomachs any further than they are with too many of these sweets, too many of these luxuries. Feel free to eat them all, but let's not go a little overboard. We have to keep ourselves in shape, keep ourselves sharp. They're going to come hunting for us, and we need to make sure that we are appropriately located for when they need extraction. We have 2 days until then, so we still have to cross the hump between here and there, and we have to keep ourselves secure in that time. That being said, she looks over at Galan and says, you know this land a little better than any of us. You're going to have to be the one that keeps an eye on the path.
Will do.
She looks over at Delilah and says, set up camp for the night. Make sure that we're well enough secured. Good thing you're staying sober, she says, looking back at Galan. Get up early and start figuring out which way we're going. And she looks over at Killian and says, you can handle the cooking. And everybody universally kind of like groans to that.
Galan would give the salute and then go to his task to keep an eye on the road till he calls it a night. And then
Perception check.
Okay.
Is your perception actually correct, or are you supposed to take off 2 from that?
Let me. I already got rid of the 2,
okay,
but
cool.
I do have to do -3 for now.
Okay.
Does minus work in this? If I put that in, will that? It did. It did. It worked.
It
Cool. Perfect. Oh yeah.
You notice very quickly as you do the salute and walk off, like you can hear the hand gesture and almost like hear the facial expression of Killian just kind of like gesturing at you like a bootlicker. And Delilah, you can see out of the corner of your eye as he's like gesturing at you behind your back as you walk past Delilah. She's like rolling her eyes like, I know, but not to you, about you to Killian.
Yeah.
And you can definitely get like the pick up the signs of the sharp look given to both of them by the actual commander that you were licking the boots of. So, or LT, I should say, that you're licking the boots of. Either way, so you go walking off. So you go walking off to go crash and get yourself some sleep and start planning for that in the morning or whatever it is, right? So your characters sleep overnight. Everybody taking turns with their watch, and nothing happens. Nothing transpires overnight. In the morning, it's your character's job to roll a survival check.
Survival. Ooh.
Oh boy. Hi, Sel. I found Tessel. He's gonna roll that natty 1 on like the one session that matters.
Oh yeah, 100. It's gonna happen. This is too good of rolls for my rolling.
This does lead me to ask you the question, sir. Did you want to, in your opinion, for this upcoming campaign, natty 1s, natty 20s, are they critical or per standard rules?
I enjoy critical, but I don't mind either way. I think I lean slightly towards the critical success, critical failure, but I'm perfectly fine if the others want it to be standard.
So we have him 3 steps into critical. He's like all in.
Yes.
I'm there. Let's do this. Hoorah. Cool. All right, so you're doing that with your survival check that you just did there. Thank you, sir, again. With your survival check you just did there, in the morning when you get up and you go looking about, you can easily find the tracks that you guys had left behind. Oh, man. Killian was supposed to, because he's the strongest amongst the group of you, he was supposed to be the one to kind of like drag the branch behind you to break it up a bit. Either the technique is absolute shit, or he really did not try. You can easily be traced back here. That's a bit of a concern, because with the daylight, the other people are going to be able to trace you here. Luckily for you, Yovance is a predominantly human nation. It's not all by any stretch, but predominantly human. So they likely would have waited till daytime to track it anyways. But unluckily for you, they use a lot of hounds. They use a lot of dogs. Yeah. So it's you're also gonna have scent and whatnot as a factor. You very quickly are able to find out which direction it is you need to go in the morning. Transfer that information, and laying into it a degree of urgency because of everything I just described. I don't know if you care to RP that out.
I don't think so. He would say the facts as they are. He may not mention that he didn't do a good enough job. He would just mention that he can follow them, and if he can, someone else might be able to.
Mm-hmm. So when you kind of like lay it over again with a degree of urgency, the LT, one of the things she says is, breakfast on the road. Let's go. Break it down. We need to get out of here immediately. We're going to have to be moving slower to be more careful. We need to make up for that with more time. So everybody just kind of like kicks out the fire quickly, grabs your breakfast, and immediately starts moving early in the morning, like kicking Delilah awake, who is equally hungover to Killian, who was kicked awake a long time ago, to start making breakfast. As you're moving, you finally are able to bite your teeth into your breakfast. It's sweet. So
those are the supplies we had.
Well, I mean, you have actual supplies too, but he literally literally took oats and honey crumbled up some of that cookie and added in, you're not sure what liquid it
Oh,
was,
gosh.
maybe water, and stirred it together to like loosen it up a little bit, and kind of threw it into like cups with a spoon for you to walk and eat more or less less viscous honey oat.
Oh God.
With
I
cookies in
think
it.
Galan would. I mean, it'd be he needs to eat it because it is good energy, but he wouldn't be happy about it. It's a little much for him.
You're realizing at some point in this consumption, wait, maybe it wasn't water, maybe it was vinegar. But it's very sweet. Just has this aftertaste. Anyways, so as you guys are making your long traveling to the extraction point, again, your survival check, easily crushing it there. One of the things the commander is going to do is, the LT is going to do, she's going to come over to you, and she's going to say, Galan, I had a question for you. We obviously have two ways that we can extract our quarry in this, the others in this task. What method do you think is better and why?
If we can go quietly, then that'll get us out of here faster with as little chance for injury. That'll be better resolved for everyone involved. That being said, if we make an impact, it'll have lasting results on the area. So there's some benefit there. It won't just be gaining the info, we'll also be damaging the infrastructure here for at least a little while. Personally, via our orders, I think quiet is preferred, but I definitely wouldn't complain about loud.
So if you're going to do it quiet, she says, continuing to walk along with you. Their point of entry was in from the west, from the more central side of Yovance. Extraction. I need to send word into them. Which exit were you contemplating? She says, kind of like rolling on a map and giving you an opportunity to look it over. Now, obviously, you're actually physically looking at a map here. So
Yeah, I was going to say, can I do like a check to look at the map?
Absolutely, of course. So you're actually able to make a profession soldier check.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh my God, what is happening?
Look at the profession soldier check. One of the things that you're going to notice.
I'm going to change that color real quick. Sorry. I like the brown's getting on my nerves.
One of the things you're going to notice with the professional soldier check, with the 23 and the professional soldier check, a really good check, is that there are three exits and entrances into this area. So the western one, as they said, which is where a lot of the commerce is going to come in from and go out to. It's an easy way to go in and out because of how many people are there and why it was that you attacked from that side beforehand, right? Because it caused guards to be more distracted of what the hell's happening down the road. Allowing them to kind of like less guards be situated up front for them to make their way in. Like get the traders in, get the traders in for safety, you know. But then you have your the northern one. That's going to be the one where a good number of the soldiers are currently located, where they have a barracks recently built with tents around it to enhance it for soldiers that are going up to join the war in the northern part that's up there, right? So that's predominantly what's inside that one. And then you have another, so it's west, you have north, and you have another one that's southeast. The southeast one is actually, funny enough, it's not, it doesn't head to war. It does head to the Paradel border. But actually, even though there's war going on, there's still trade between Yovance and Paradel. And it's against Sahar. What's the name of that province there? Give me one moment. Sahara. So
okay, yeah.
Trade between Yovance and parts of Bard and Sahara. And so that's actually where you have a lot of like the exports will head in that way. But most importantly, what's going to be heading down along that border is a lot of like slave trade. We'll bring a lot of like slaves down in that direction over there. So you have, west, which is predominantly goods trades, north, predominantly soldiers, and southeast, which is predominantly like a slave trade for bringing those along the border area to act as like kind of like secondary guards, but also for labor and whatnot for the goods that they make down in that direction, and trade over into Bard and Sahora. That's kind of like the different areas that are there. Clearly, you can tell which ones are the most guarded versus which ones are the least guarded. Like, I allow you to kind of extrapolate that information on your own. But also the city itself, like many of the cities, because there's a lot of infighting that happens in Jovance. There's a lot of walls around these cities, a good number of them. And again, they do this because they have their own little civil wars from time to time, as the different high-tier merchant class people are struggling with each other for power. So kind of like looking at this information, looking it over. Go ahead.
Well, the west entrance is once again easier to get in and out, but it has some guards on it. But confusion can be used there. North is definitely not the way to go. They have a lot of extra guards there that may be nearby as well. Now, the south, as much as I despise the slave trade, that entrance might be more useful because unfamiliar faces would be more common. And, given the right coinage, it might be easier to get a message in. That's what this is for, right? A message into the building, right?
Extraction point. You're getting she can get the message in, but it's a message as to which extraction point you're going to use.
Oh, okay, my bad. Then, honestly, then in that case, the slave entrance would still be better because, if upon exiting we freed a bunch of the slaves that were there, that would be enough chaos to allow us a much quicker exit.
So, she, as you kind of like give that information, she nods and says, "I contemplated that myself, but one of the things I wanted to point out is, if we go down there, we may be so inclined as to act. If we choose another entrance, we are leaning towards the side of things going well, where we can have a soft extraction. But if we are putting ourselves in that scenario, all of us are going to almost hope things go poorly. We're almost going to hope for hard extraction. Subconsciously. Well, she wouldn't say subconsciously.
Yes.
She'd say, deep down.
Yes. I know I would be able to keep it together. What about the others? Your thoughts?
She looks over at Killian, who's like nearby, like cutting down a branch, and looks back at you.
Yes. Then I guess the west entrance is probably the best bet again. The confusion with all the people, so to get this right, you were saying that the north entrance has all the posts and everything. So that's soldiers. Yeah, that's not the way we want to go. So it is definitely, yeah. So it is the west entrance. The using the guise of all the people that are coming in for trade, coming in and out for trade. It's our best bet. The only issue is if things do go wrong, people are going to get hurt.
Nods, says, so we have to err towards the side of defense rather than offense if we go this direction.
Yes.
How is it you propose that we get ourselves so close up? Are we going to disguise ourselves as merchants as well? Certainly we don't have many supplies, she says, looking at in the cup
I was about to say,
one bite from.
If we had more supplies, it might have been better. But that being said, I imagine not everyone that comes in is loaded with supplies. Maybe we have currency to spend. We have a couple of supplies ourselves, but maybe we're buyers.
Only issue I have with this deception is how we're armored. We are dressed like people who are prepared for combat.
Indeed.
I bring these up for a reason. I wanted your opinion. Because I was also leaning towards the side of slave. Except I was also saying we should ditch our goods. We could easily disguise ourselves as being of the lower class and allow ourselves to traverse through that place while not being mistaken for slaves, certainly be looked away from, less interested in who we are. That would allow us to get in and get out, but if things go sideways, we would not be able to easily defend ourselves. You won't exactly have be prepared, she says, looking down at your bastard sword at your side. Or wherever it is you keep it.
Yes, well, if we go in quiet, we can always keep an eye out for where we may procure weaponry, and all we have to do is then get back to our supplies. Once we get back to our supplies, we're set.
She nods and says, so, southeast or west? What do you think?
My preference is the southeast. That is given the best situation, though. And you will be a better judge of character of the other two soldiers than I will.
She nods and says, I already spoke to them. She looks at you. She kind of like gives like there's a long pause, about a minute, and then she looks at you and says, "Everybody said the same thing."
Perfect.
She'll roll a sense motive check. Make sure that your modifier is correct.
Yep. Oops. Fun with modifiers. Perfect. There we go.
Flags with friends.
Oh, that was less good.
That's fine. She has her expressions kind of on her face. You didn't need anything great. Actually, you just had it at a lower DC. And she actually says, so you see she's kind of looks a little perplexed. Like when she says that we're all in the thing, one might think, well, that's because it's the logical course. But her face says that she believes otherwise.
Interesting. What about you? What would you suggest if that's not the... If we couldn't do that method, if there was another option, if that door happened to be closed off?
She shakes her head and says, then obviously the West, similar scenario what you described. It's just strange that all of us came up with the same reasoning. We all have very different backgrounds, very different approaches, very different trigger points, and nonetheless, they're coming to these same conclusions. It just strikes me as odd. I keep feeling like there's like a degree of deja vu. It's been throwing me off. Nonetheless, she thinks for a few moments and then says, "Can I be honest with you? Please understand. I'm only speaking so freely with you because the likelihood of you remaining your current rank for much longer is pretty the likelihood of your remaining it would be very slim."
Of course.
When we were given this task, you by whoever it was that commanded you, and the others by them, me myself, the person that gave me my task, they told me specifically to look for things like this.
Interesting.
To report back if I noticed almost like a unity between us. And I do. I notice it. And it just, I would not have ever thought anything of it if somebody didn't explicitly bring it up. And so it just makes me wonder why. Do you think? And she kind of like gestures down at like the food. It says, "Didn't they put something in our food?"
No. I do know the sense that you mean, but whatever it is, all we can think about now is that they must have chosen very well about who to put in this team. And we can discuss more about why that is the case later, I think.
Well, she certainly wanted me to report back about each of you individually, so understand that you've performed well so far. Continue to do so for favorable reporting. and see how things play out.
Indeed. Thank you.
Um,
He would probably say, thank you for your candor.
She would fold up the map and then continue heading with you over towards the. Where does she need to go? We just need one last survival check for you.
Yup. I'll take it.
Okay. So not that you do anything about it, anyways. You're easily able
Oh,
to
yeah, I can't lock
navigate
it
your
in
way
this
through
one.
the area, trying to avoid being tracked as you go to bring yourself to the city in question. You're able to go up towards the southeastern gate as everybody expected, but beforehand, a location is found by Delilah to hide all the supplies, and so they're not easily put there. Along the way, having easily gathered common clothes. It's very, very easy to do. You guys dressing yourselves down considerably. Each of you are given, and is you're allowed to bring with you your utility knife. It's not even a proper dagger, right? Because we all know what like a dagger looks like. This isn't a dagger; it's a utility knife, like a 1d3 weapon that you are proficient with, right? But it's unwieldy, so it's a -1 chance to hit. 1d3 weapon, nothing terrible, just something to be aware of, right? Anyways, this is kind of like given to all of you to kind of hide on your person if you can, where you can, and then you're able to make your way into the city itself. There's a lot of people that are moved in and out of this gate that you're going through. You're going through it because obviously this is so you can stay out of the way. You yourself are not very high citizen. You guys rub dirt on your face to make sure you look like peasant folk. So more or less you're looking like Neil, kind of like going into a grocery store, just like a filthy peasant. You know what I mean.
Yep, yeah, I do.
Yeah, and we don't have peasants, by the way, in the United States, because we don't have kings or queens. Just saying. Freedom. One day you'll learn it too, Tesh. One day you'll learn it too.
There's so much I want to say to that, but I'm going to resist it to keep things going.
Yep. So we'll continuing with the. So you guys go in there and kind of like waiting for your point for extraction, waiting for when the meeting is going to take place. You're done with the survival checks, as I said beforehand. What I actually want for you personally is a perception check.
I can do that. But can I do that? Oh.
Okay.
That's oof.
The reason why I phrase it like that, you personally, is because I had the others are going to be rolling as well. They're not as perceptive as your character happens to be. They have different talents that they're good at. Why don't you go ahead and roll for me two separate 1d20 plus 4.
Okay.
Being
I
parent.
nearly rolled a d40. 1d20 plus 4. Plus wow.
Okay.
Wow. And what was the other one? Oh, another d4 plus 4. Okay. Someone was paying attention.
Yep. Delilah. So Delilah notices things pretty early, kind of responding back to kind of calling the group together. She's actually the one that was able to go to the group and is like, I wanted to inform you that, sorry, she says, I found out where they are, but I don't think things are going well. They're over inside of a tavern. They're having a couple of drinks. It's not too far from the gate from where we are right now. But the issue is, there are clearly a considerable number of guards. There are clearly a considerable number of guards stationed outside of the tavern. Like you can see, they're starting to close in a subtle way on the place. I think they've been, discovered. We're going to have to get them out, but I don't know if they were.
Okay. Can I get into a position where I can look at the guards moving up?
Currently, where you guys are right now, no. She's bringing this information. So the what's her name? Minerve. we need to play this as though they have not blown their cover yet. We need to play this as though they're still underway. We need to move together. We need to work this out. But we need to get everybody in the right position. So first and foremost, for the person going in to make contact with them, we need to make sure that when you do so, you don't speak to them directly. We need to be subtle. Let them see you, hang about for a bit, and head out the correct way. But also be somebody on hand to lend aid should things go sour. Delilah, that's going to have to be you. Delilah understands. Before you go, here's the plan. She looks over at Killian and says, you have always been good, from what I've read about you, at being very physical. I'm going to have to require you to run the offense on this. If things start to go sour, it's your responsibility to make things go sideways, to cause a distraction. Your responsibility is to catch their attention. And she looks at you to Galan and says, you're, however, running defense on this one. It's your responsibility to get them out. So whatever it is that we're all doing, your responsibility is to leave with them, to keep them safe, so that the information is brought back home. And then she says, and of course for myself, I'll be running, she'll be like, I'll be running from overhead. Overwatch. No, I'll be running from overhead. I'll be applying pressure to whoever needs it where I can to make sure that everybody is on point. Does anybody have any questions on how we're going to do this? Good. Then Galan, I want you to stay here by the gate. You do not move from here. You wait until you can see them and act accordingly.
Okay.
She's going to go in with the three of them to wherever it is that they need to go.
So the first thing I would do is immediately look at everything around me and see if there was pay attention to anything that might be able to be used as a weapon, might be able to use as an escape, something that might be able to use to even just an improvised weapon, something to get in the way of a soldier if needed, that sort of thing. Just looking for anything around me that I might be able to pick up in a hurry.
Why don't you go ahead and roll me a perception check?
Ooh.
So, just inside of the gate over here, there happens to be a blacksmith whose responsibility it is to see to it that the weapons of the soldiers coming in from on far are taken care of. Obviously, there'll be another blacksmith to the north as well, but making sure that they're kept nice and sharp. So they do have a considerable number of weapons readily on hand that can be grabbed, obviously be noticed. Like there's a bunch of people around. Working. But there are over there ones that either need to be worked on or have already been worked on or have been broken. And so there's like the warped or shattered or whatever pieces there are on the ground over there, dented, whatever it might be, nearby as well. So all that kind of like supply is near too that you could get to if you needed to.
Yeah, that's perfect because it's if I was going to be going for that weapon, it would be the worst case scenario anyway. So it's don't need to worry about not being seen taking the weapon. Mm-hmm. It's that's for if things go south, he's going to run and grab that weapon.
I want you to go ahead and roll me a what's it called? A 1d20 plus 6.
Yep. Oh, it was 19 for so long, and then it rolled onto a 1. I hope that was for an NPC's perception of me.
Don't worry about what that is. And so then you have a for the other one, it's going to be, because that wouldn't be there yet, it's going to be a 1d20 plus 2.
That's more like it.
While you're sitting there waiting, watching, allowing time to pass, or a good 15, 20 minutes pass, and you're getting prepared, you're surrounded literally all around you by enemies. Even a slave is an enemy, because if a slave can do something good, they can earn their freedom. They can have years shaved off of their indentured servitude and so on and so forth, right? So there's so much that danger around you at all points in time. You get this gut feeling, God, I hope things don't go sideways. When all of a sudden, you kind of pick something up. You're like, oh, things aren't right, but it's happening now. It's happening now. You kind of like get this instinct, like it's happening now. And so you kind of like, perk up a little bit and you walk over and you look out. And what you end up seeing is you actually see the four of them, the four others, right? From the other team are definitely making their way outside of the building. And they're moving, let's just say, hastily along the area. What they actually ended up having to do was they're chasing, what's her name? Delilah. Actively chasing Delilah as she's running full-fledged from them. Like, no, stop her, get her. As she's running, trying to get out of there as quickly as she can. This, of course, has triggered a whole bunch of guards that have start reacting as well. But you're getting the impression as you're watching this, like, no, this is staged. Like, whatever it is that's going on, they're chasing her angrily. Like and she's fleeing from them, which is why she happens to be coming this direction. And they're calling for, like, guards, stop her. What is it your character does at this point in time? Mind you, guards from behind will be triggered as well.
Okay, so I'm under the impression that this is all staged so that they can have a reason to run this way.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, so I have to weigh up the options of all the guards are following them. Okay. Does Delilah look like she's holding anything specifically, like maybe deliberate, like if they handed off the intel to her?
She's holding almost like a coin purse, right? So almost like she stole from them.
Okay. So what I could do is I could intercept the people, like the group that we're supposed to be thing, and act like I'm running into, like, accidentally getting in the way, separating them from chasing her, and then lead them out a different way. Almost act like I just happened to accidentally get in the way, sort of thing. And let the guards continue following Delilah.
I get what you're saying. So the guards go and arrest Delilah, sort of thing.
Or at least continue following her, sort of thing.
Okay. So. Yeah. So, so you go over and you run kind of like how do you try to interfere with them? How do you get in their way?
Honestly, it would be like act like he's startled by them by Delilah running past and fall in the way of them.
Okay, cool. So this is actually going to be a bluff check from you.
Yep. So I'm gonna do one of these.
Don't roll garbage.
I didn't roll garbage.
All right. So, with your bluff check of a 23, you go over, you easily stumble in the way of them and kind of like let them go. And the guards continue like skipping past, and the other guards go and detain her over at the gate and whatnot that's over there. And so once they kind of like detain her over at the gate, and they're like, "You idiots!" and kind of like yelling at you or whatever it is.
I'm sorry. Look, I can help pay just this way. Come on, I'll show you. I can feed you, and I'll lead them that way, sort of thing. Just obviously not saying it loudly, like just saying it like, "Come on."
Well, one of them kind of sticks behind and looks over at the guards and is like, be like, if you could just take care of that one, being like angrily and whatnot, and them kind of going off, and you see that your LT is walking up from behind and tapping that person on the shoulder and says, no, I'll take care of this. And they're like, and so the LT starts walking forward over to the others. Killian is nowhere to be seen. So she rolled a natty 1 for Killian.
Oh no.
That's why they had to improv. Is nowhere to be seen. Walks over and starts having a conversation with the guards and her on the ground. And of course, one of them gives like a hard whack to Delilah because for having stolen and dressed like a peasant and whatnot. And so of course she's going over and trying to talk to them. No. So kind of try to have that situation go that way. And you're leading the four of them outside of the.
Yeah, outside of the gate. Yeah, towards basically leading them along the path until we get close enough to supplies, and then leading them off towards the supplies.
Okay. So You start leading out with them and kind of like heading out that way. You had a really good bluff check, so it's easy for you to make your way out there. And they just kind of call back angry remarks and so on and so forth. And you guys are able to leave without the LT, without Delilah, without Killian. You head back for a while. Obviously, you go get your supplies and kind of a fallback point as previously discussed. Does your character have any concerns about what had happened? Like, what's the...
He would only really talk to them once they get back to the fallback point, like at this previously discussed point where once I get them out, I take them there. Then he would ask, so what happened?
They were kind of informed about, you know, and we don't need to put faces or names to most of these characters, right? They're kind of like, we got caught, says one of the gentlemen. We got caught. It was unfortunate. It was just a slight mistake was made. We got discovered, but they hadn't moved in on us yet because it was so recent. Unfortunately, Delilah had to come in and kind of cause it. I guess, from what I understood, there was supposed to be some other way of getting us out, but it felt very improv.
It was, but it worked. For now.
Worked, he says, looking back down the way. Where the hell's the LT?
Well, that's why we're here. This is the fallback point. We'll wait and see. But my job is to get you back with that intel, first and foremost.
He nods slowly and says, well, hopefully they get out, because now I kind of want to go back and extract the extractors.
That intel is extremely important. I understand the want, but you'd be helping them more by getting that out. We can help them better if we need to extract them later with a plan. Right now, that intel is more important.
So one of the others that are there kind of look at him, just trying to like gather his attention, kind of calm him down a bit, place a hand on his shoulder and say, what the hell's his name? Duncan, sorry. So places a hand on his shoulder and says, Duncan, it's okay. The LT will get out, we'll be fine.
Each and every one of us knew what we were doing. We knew our parts. We knew the importance of this info.
Nods. You guys wait the appropriate day, and that's all you can spare, like overnight. That's all you can spare, and then you have to leave. Otherwise, they could easily send soldiers out here and find if they think anything has gone amiss, so on and so forth. You have to leave.
Yeah, no, as soon as like that, it ticks over that day, and it's been the time they told me to wait, I'm gone.
Okay.
As much as I'd like to wait for them, I can serve them better later if I can come back with reinforcements or report this to someone who can help them.
As you guys go to leave, roll me a perception check.
Ooh.
You actually notice someone is coming, though you can see that they're very hobbled, but one person is actually returning. One person is actually coming with you. You can see that they've taken like a branch, Y shape at the top, thick and strong at the bottom, to almost act as a crutch, and they're making their way along. You notice this, kind of like calling out to it, bringing attention. You and the other soldiers that are with you are able to go and meet up with CLT. She is beaten. Clearly, just even like a quick look at it, you can see she's dragging her leg with her. One leg functioning, but even that one, you can tell is, because the simple clothes that you're wearing is almost like a nightgown sort of a thing. You can see from like below the knee where the clothing stops. You can see like bruises and whatnot on the other leg as well. You can see markings on the face and the arms. Like clearly the LT is taking quite the beating.
Galan would immediately go and help her stand, just give her support. What happened?
Delilah, they're taking her into slavery as punishment for her actions. Killian, he came in a bit late. Decided to come in hot at that point instead of when he was supposed to. And well, he didn't. I don't think he survived. I'm alive. There's nothing we can do at this point.
Let's get these people back.
Quickly after starting to travel with her, you realize that one leg is legitimately broken, like full-on broken. And so has to use the crutch to move, has to use lots of aid for you guys to move. It's a slow and very arduous journey to get back home. Once you guys are actually cross the border into Paradel, two of the soldiers are going to grab the information and yeet all the way back to base.
Yeah.
While the four of you, so three of you could assist her, are bringing her back, so it's nice and safe. Once you guys are kind of get back there and the information's been shared, Viggo was able to find the important information he needed about the slaves, the slave trade, where they are, where they're going to, all this stuff, so he can use it in the future to break down Yovance, right? After he gets all that stuff, we're flashing forward at this point a good 2 weeks' time. Your LT has had a little bit of time to mend, but you haven't even seen her since then. You literally were able to pop in and visit her once. She's on the mend. Otherwise, everything kind of like flashes forward a bit. Your character is actually, it's told that your character is actually going to be receiving the promotion that you were looking forward to. The rank to, Warden. The promotion that you'll be going towards, which is absolutely incredible. You're excited for it, so on and so forth. But just before the ceremony, like the night before the ceremony, you actually have a meeting that you're supposed to have. A person that you're supposed to speak to. But in this meeting, you actually get to go there when you go to sit in the place where you're supposed to have this meeting inside one of the offices. As you go sitting there to wait to go in, the door opens up, and you have your LT again in like a wrapped like a splinted leg with a crutch and whatnot, makes her way out of the office and looks at you and goes, "Oh, word is you're getting that promotion tomorrow."
Commander, thank you.
Commander.
And yes, it's looking like it. But sorry, I put it as
Lieutenant
Commander here, so LT. So LT. Thank you. And yes, it does look like. How is your leg?
It's fine. It's fine. Listen, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I spoke with her again about everything that you and I spoke about that day. She seems interested. I'll give a full report of everything that you've done and whatnot, but I won't lie, she seems less interested in your military accolades. She's a strange woman, so good luck with her.
Interesting. Well, thank you.
So when she kind of like, you give a salute or whatever to your low ranking, but nonetheless
100% would salute.
Of course. So again, you're low ranking, but nonetheless still military officer. The door is going to open up, and you can see when you go inside. It's a typical Paradel officer's location, right? Where you have all sorts of books that are there that are all around. It's like a library, but it's not like it's super crazy ornate in the sense like there's a bunch of sorry, this thing's over here, so it's loading very slowly. It's not like it's super ornate, like there's a bunch of like decorations all over the walls. For the sake of like style, it's more like it's super ornate in the sheer number of what are they called? Things pertaining to Paradel history, right? So it's all about Paradel history here, not just like pretty things, specifically for Paradel history. Anyways, the woman that's inside there that you see, she's thin. Actually, to be clear, she's very androgynous. So it takes the only reason why you can even identify her as being female is because she's been said to be female by what's her name? Your LT Pryor, by Minerva Pryor. But she's thin, very formed. What is it? She wears like even though she's in the Paradel as an officer, so on and so forth, she wears like scholars clothes and whatnot that are there. She has on her hands a couple of like rings, stuff like that show that she is part of maybe different groups or societies, or has a degree of wealth or significance to her. She's darker skinned, very dark hair. Her hair she wears very long, and she has kind of like an unamused look on her face, but not like a stink face, right? Just like a matter-of-fact kind of unamused look on her face as she's looking at you as you come in. So you come in, and she gestures to the seat and says, Galan, have a seat.
He would do so. Just sort of do the small nod. Would he know if he needs to salute or not here?
No, she does not look like an officer.
Okay, then he would just do a little small nod and go and sit down.
Okay. She looks at you and says, "From what I understand, you were very successful this past mission that you had."
Successful in the objective. Unfortunately, 2 were left behind.
She nods and says, "I don't mean to be callous in saying this, but unfortunately, there are costs to our victory, and there is much to be gained from the victory."
As I said, successful in the objective.
She, not wanting the points to fall moot to what it is that, to fall like on mute ears or deaf ears, for what it is that you're saying, she lets it linger for a couple of seconds and she says, "Would you go back if you could?"
If I could, and it would help, then yes.
Why?
But more soldiers they served well. They could be useful. They did their part. But if going back would not serve anything, would not gain anything, and something else could be done that would give more, gain more, I would do that.
Nothing of Delilah specifically.
She performed her role perfectly. She got them out of the tavern. She
gives you that nod saying, like, yeah, I get it. You know, like she doesn't cut you off, but just like finish up with your explanation pretty quickly. So go ahead.
Given no other situation, no other context, I would want to get another good soldier back.
She says, "What do you know of her predicament?"
That currently, as far as I know, she was put into slavery as a punishment.
What do you feel of her predicament?
So he would think about it for a bit and just I feel that she deserved better, but
She waves her hand, kind of tossing aside the thing when you deserves better while you're contemplating more words. She just kind of waves away any more response. And
as she does that,
Mhm.
oh sorry, as she does that, he realizes that she's meaning something different. Do you mean in the way? And he sort of sits up. Minerve was just in here, yes, and she reported her findings. Do you mean in the way that we noticed synchronicities?
I wonder if it's a matter of proximity or it's a matter of duration.
Do you mean to say it wasn't just a feeling?
Maybe. And that's why you're here. You don't even know who I am. So allow me to introduce myself so we can get things properly underway. Because I have an opportunity for you, Galan. Something that I think you might appreciate. Somebody with your talents, your history, might find this to be an opportunity of a lifetime. But I want you to contemplate it because it is a choice that you're going to make. A choice that you're going to make that will, you will be able to choose, unlike what happened in your past. You'll be able to change your mind at a later date if you wish to do so. As you know, Inclame only lasts for 3 years. After that, you can do whatever you'd like. And you're already a year into it, aren't you?
Indeed.
That being said, my name is Jen Mollis, And I am leading a small research into a new endeavor, a new way to have soldiers connect to one another like they never have before, to connect to themselves like they never have before. No painful experimentation, no drugs given to you, no spells cast upon you, nothing like that. Simply,
He would lock up a little bit at that as she's mentioning bit by bit.
simply breathing exercises, contemplative exercises, a lot of stretching, and very repetitive combat training over and over again. Taking otherwise complex... What's up, Rory? Sweetheart, in a few minutes, okay? Sorry, it's important. Taking complex actions and turning them into rote actions. And through this repetition, you would be able to master things like you never have before. Go on. Master things like you never have before. Are you interested in seeing exactly what it is we're offering?
Indeed. Yes. And he sits up straight.
And with that, we will fade to black.
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm excited. We got to tell that out there. I realized at the beginning I explained so much early on. There's a little bit more I wanted to do in the middle there with that like endeavor. But like we have very strict time limits. Like this is already about an hour and a half. I have to try to keep them all kind of shorter because all three of them. And I have to go get ready for work.
That always
My daughter
happens.
is literally standing there staring at me going, "I need this thing, Daddy." So I'm
Oh.
gonna have to get out of here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Tesh. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see how this character comes when he comes into session 1.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. I'm also excited to see Chet's reaction when the thing down there no longer says excellent rank and says something else.
It's funny too. I don't even know why I put excellent because you walked in as a champion and walked out as a warden. So spoilers,
true.
I'm an excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. I clicked the button, but I didn't do the thing yet. Now it's doing the thing. There we go. There we are. All right. Bye, everybody.
Whew, okay, I like it. I like where it